On this episode of Big Boys Don't Cry, we discuss the film After We Collided. You don't have to have seen the film to enjoy the podcast, but if you do listen without having seen the film, just be aware that we will talk about the plot. There will be spoilers. Enjoy. Watermelon sugar. Watermelon sugar. There's your song for today.
That's Alan Sugar's brother, right? Watermelon Sugar.
Yeah. So Watermelon Sugar. He's in the House of Lords.
Exactly.
Voting for all the wrong things, of course.
Of course.
I'll give you pre-warning now that I'm about to pour my sparkling water, just so you don't get the suspicious sound. Here we go. Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe you just did that, Paddy.
Watermelon Sugar, host of The Apprentice.
So, are you referring to the Harry Styles song when you're talking
Yes.
about Watermelon Sugar?
The Harry Styles bop.
Yes.
Do you agree that it's a bop?
It is a bop. I'm quite a fan of Harry Styles' work post that bad band he was in.
Bum Direction.
One Direction, that's it. Yeah, I couldn't, off the top of my head, I couldn't remember. It escaped me. But I think
Have you seen the television show The Masked Singer?
I've watched some of it. Yes.
If you recall the Viking on the most recent season, I don't know if you've seen the most recent season, Saturday nights, ITV. What else are you going to watch in lockdown? But it's something I watch religiously. And there was a Viking who was unmasked last week, and that was one of the songs that he sang while he was in the Viking costume, and it was great.
Surely, if you're dressed as a Viking, you should only be singing Viking metal.
That's what I hoped for. But do you know who it was?
A genuine Viking who time travelled.
Yeah, because what happens at the end of The Masked Singer is that when it's time for them to become unmasked, the studio audience, in quite a menacing way, along with the host and all of the panel, go, "Take it off, take it off, take it off." So yeah, what happened was they removed the giant fake Viking head, and inside was a real Viking.
A genuine Viking.
He was like, "I'm just here to cash in on the craze for sea shanties."
They should really combine it with Naked Attraction, shouldn't they? Where
That's literally the opposite thing.
Where they slowly strip
while singing, until eventually they're naked, but they've got like the Viking mask on at the top.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, can you tell which singer it is by their penis?
Yeah, and the celebs would do it because apparently you get paid a lot of money.
Oh, wow, it's good publicity and you get paid.
Yeah.
So who was the Viking?
It was Morten Harket, the lead singer of a-ha.
Oh, okay.
A lot of them are professional singers, interestingly.
Yes, yeah, they are.
But it's hard to recognise the voice. And they give you loads of goofy clues and stuff of like the person in their costume frolicking in a wood or something. It's great.
It's like Through the Keyhole meets X Factor meets Eurovision.
Meets Eurotrip, I thought you were going to say.
Meets Eurotrip.
Now, what is Through the Keyhole? That's a thing I know of, but I don't actually know
Through
what
the
it is.
Keyhole was a TV show that was on when we were wee lads back in the day, and basically they'd go round a rich person's house, they'd go round a celebrity's house, and then you had to guess who the owner of the house was.
Right, okay. This was some adult nonsense that you watched on TV while I was watching Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons.
Well,
probably.
it was like a game show. It wasn't a serious. They didn't go, who would own a disgusting kitchen like this?
Yeah. It was like Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen going, "It's rotten!" Who is the owner of the rotten tomato? Hashtag Through the Keyhole.
Through the Keyhole.
That's what they should do. They should do like Kitchen Nightmares, but instead of it being like in a restaurant or whatever, Gordon Ramsay just comes into someone's house and shouts at them, and then you have to guess who it is.
Turns up at someone's house and is just like, "What is this? What are you making? Frozen pizza? You disgust me."
Someone who's famous enough that you're going to be like, "Oh, I would enjoy Gordon Ramsay giving that person a bollocking," but not too famous.
So I'm just having a look here, and Spike Milligan was one of the first celebrity homeowners on Through the
Or
Keyhole.
ever. Yes, one of the first celebrities to ever own a home.
Yeah, before that they were rented.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also had Rick Wakeman in Series 1 as well. Yeah, so they got some good people. When
I was 18 and I worked in Marks and Spencer's and I had long hair, one of my co-workers told me I had a Rick Wakeman vibe.
I can see that.
Yeah, I'll have to dig out a photo, put it in the show notes.
I remember the long hair. Our favourite man, Uri Geller, appeared in Series 2.
Spoon nonce.
Went around Uri Geller's house.
Of course they did. But that's an obvious one. You go in, there's going to be spoons everywhere.
Spoons everywhere. Yeah, pictures of Michael Jackson everywhere.
Yeah. Do you reckon Uri Geller cooks frozen pizza? I bet he does.
I think he cooks it with his mind because he's a powerful psychic.
Yep. And then how it comes out is like, you know when you microwave something, but the like turny bowl bit hasn't turned properly? So it's like red hot on one side and frozen on the other. That's how it comes out.
Yeah, that's what his spoons are like as well. If you've ever touched a Uri Geller spoon, one side's really cold and one side's really hot. It's just an issue with being psychic.
I hope I never touch one of Uri Geller's spoons.
Anyway, right, so...
Just like I hope I never have to see another film in this franchise again, but I know that I will, because they've already filmed films 3 and 4 back to back, which, as you know from the history of other films where they've done that, is usually a good move. But in this case, I find it hard to believe. Obviously, the canonical example is Beethoven and Beethoven's Second, but, you know, this does not really compare, does it?
I mean, for me, it's Alan Quatermain and the Lost City of Gold and King Solomon's Mines in terms of back-to-back filming. You can take your Lord of the Rings.
They can only get the mines for a certain period of time.
It's all about King Solomon's Mines, followed by Alan Quatermain and the Lost City of Gold. Which
Did they shoot the Lord of the Rings ones back-to-back?
I think so, yeah.
Because all three of them?
Because they were released year after year, weren't they?
Right, yes.
So I think they filmed all of it and then released it.
That's good.
Which is good and actually planned, unlike when they were doing things like the Harry Potter movies or what's the Death Island? Children Death Island.
Children Death Island.
Yeah, Children Death Island. They go to an island. They
I thought you were going to say
fall
Boyhood.
in love.
Richard Linklater's Children's Death Island
Yeah,
that he shot over 12 years.
Richard, he just put children on an island and killed them.
Yeah.
It's the most artistic snuff movie ever made.
He let them grow up and then he killed them.
Yeah.
You mean the Hunger Games?
Hunger Games, that's it. Children Death Island is a much better name. Whereas obviously those two, they were both like, how can we squeeze some more cash out of this franchise? I know, let's split a book into 2 films that definitely doesn't need to be 2 films.
So annoying that Harry Potter did that and then all the other franchises copied it as well. So Twilight did it, so we had to watch 5 of them, however many there were. Hunger Games did it and made Mockingjay Part 1 was just about okay, and then Mockingjay Part 2 was absolutely abysmal.
The other issue is that all of these movies, the final book, therefore the final 2 films, get away from everything that makes the original idea successful. So Harry Potter, the final 2 films spend no time in the school apart from the lackluster shootout at the end amongst the ruins of Hogwarts.
Yeah, although I do like the first of the 2 Deathly Hallows films ends with a really creepy scene of Voldemort opening up Dumbledore's grave and like floating down onto his body like he's about to have sex with it. That is a very good and very creepy scene to end that film on. I
mean, should have had sex with him if you want to impress me, Harry Potter series.
Yeah, Voldemort. Come on.
You fucking loser, Voldemort, you cuck. Have sex with dead Dumbledore, you absolute shit. But yeah, then Children Death Island Part 1 and 2. There's no Children Death Island. It's like a little Revolutionary War film, the second one.
Yeah.
What rubbish is that?
Which should be exciting, but instead it's about Team Peter or Team Gale, which is just so stupid. Team Hemsworth or Team short man. It's all of that happening against the backdrop of a massive military insurrection that is pushed so far into the background that you're barely aware that it's happening, even though there are explosions every 10 seconds.
Yeah. And then I will give Twilight a pass because you get some excellent Sheen content.
Yeah,
across those two movies.
Twilight is totally worth watching, all of it, just to get to that moment of Michael Sheen's maniacal laughing, which is one of the greatest things ever captured on film.
It is beautiful, but you know what's not a great thing that's been captured on film?
Watermelon sugar.
Why are you singing it like the Mario music? No.
Watermelon sugar.
One, two. Super Mario Brothers World 1, 2, when they go underground and it goes ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba.
Oh, I see, yeah. Watermelon sugar. Someone must have remixed that already, but if that has not happened.
Watermelon sugar. I used to be in one direction, but now I am much better. So
Harry Styles.
Harry Styles. All of this is obviously distraction from the fact that we don't want to speak about the movie After We Collided, which is this week's film and is extremely bad. Can we say that immediately?
Yes, we can. We definitely can. I feel bad for Harry Styles in this whole thing because this is part of the After series, which if you are not a teenager on the internet or whatever, or sort of a teen to sort of early mid-20s, I guess, who is invested in like books on the internet, fan culture and stuff, you probably haven't even heard of it. But basically it's in the similar way to Twilight and 50 Shades, starting out as fan fiction outside of traditional publishing, which is a good thing as a thing. But this started as One Direction fan fiction, so the character is based on Harry Styles, but I really think it's nothing to do with him and nothing like him, and I feel bad for him because I respect him and I like watermelon sugar. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Harry, you are welcome anytime.
But yeah, the character doesn't seem to have an awful lot similar to Harry Styles. I don't look at Harry Styles and think he's going to be an abusive bastard.
I think he's going to be one of those guys who talks in that sort of aggressively posh voice.
How dare you! I am Hero finds Tiffin.
Hero finds Tiffin.
So we reviewed After, the original After, and
last year,
and did not like it. It is a bad film. I think it's fair to say
it's terrible. Yeah.
But is it also fair to say that After We Collided is a worse film than the first one?
Yes, on a number of levels. It's better in one way, which is that it has one of the Spruce Boys in it, and he turns in a hilarious performance as perhaps the only person who's aware that the thing that he's acting in is bad and decides to maybe give it a little bit of ham.
I love him because he's a 50-year-old man in a young man's body.
Do you mean his character or the actor?
Why not both? No, the character in this is like, I am a young man, but I understand economics. Here's a spreadsheet, figures. You bastards. I've worked out a used car you could get, etc. And I loved him. He was great. He was the only likable character in this entire film. And they did not know what to do with him at all. They had no idea. It was being set up as a kind of love triangle, but it was obvious from the word go that our main character Tessa had no interest in him romantically, and you didn't really get a sense that he had any interest in her romantically until right at the end of the movie. It was like, well, what a pointless love triangle to throw in. There was genuinely no danger whatsoever in the love triangle. Yeah, he's just a guy. He's just a guy standing in front of a girl, telling her she can afford a used car. Telling her that he bought her a used Toyota. Oh, he didn't buy it for her, did he? Didn't he work out how cheap it would be and talk him to... Yes, and talks the guy down to a good price. No, he should have bought a true alpha move, to borrow phrases from online masculine idiots, would have been to go into detail about how he got a good price for the car and then buy it for himself and say, look at this great car I've got. Would you like a lift? You can't have a lift. Would you like the car? You can't have it. Do your own work.
Right.
Financial negging is the new way to attract women, I've heard. From idiots on the internet.
That's your problem, Trevor. You didn't financially neg her.
Yeah, you supported her as a friend, which is obviously not what you're meant to do.
What kind of pickup artist, love triangle, non-essential character are you?
That's ridiculous. But yeah, no, I loved him. He was brilliant. He was the only likeable character in the entire film, apart from the bow tie wearing, swearing child with trains. Who also I
hope my son turns out like that.
I would like a spin-off of 50-year-old man in a 20-year-old's body and 70-year-old man in a 9-year-old's body having a little awkward adventure of their own.
Yeah. They could go to like a train, like a model railway or something.
Yeah. But let's do that. Let's get that on the go instead of this awful, manipulative, nasty movie that we got. And you know it's bad because the movie opens basically. Well, it opens with a shit voiceover from our boy. What's his name? Dick Turpin.
Dick Turpin.
What's the character's name?
Yeah, Dick Turpin, the famous English highwayman. Also,
what's his name?
A famous bastard from history who liked to neg women and punch his dad.
It's something like Dick Turpin or Taffin or something like that.
It's Hardin.
Hardin, that's it.
Hardin Scott.
Hardin.
Or as I texted you, hard pass more like.
Yeah. So Dick Turpin is here and he does a terrible voiceover about it, basically ripping off the beginning of 500 Days of Summer, where they go, this isn't a love movie, but here it's like, you think you've heard this story before, but it's not, it's our story.
You think you've heard this story before, but you haven't.
And thank you,
I'm
Vinnie
somehow
Jones.
like trying to be a Cockney, but I'm also aggressively posh at the same time.
The fabled Poshney.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then it's very bold
in
of
the
them to
first
do
film
that.
when he said, I don't date.
And you think, oh, I wonder if they're actually going to do something interesting here. Of course they don't. And instead, the next scene is him being abusive to a homeless person.
Yeah.
His Dick Turpin just being really violent, like, towards a homeless person. And spoiler alert for the end of the movie, this homeless person comes back at the end and it's Tessa's dad.
Oh, that was the same homeless guy.
Yeah, the same homeless
See, by
guy.
the time we got to that, the movie was so forgettable that I'd totally forgotten that happened.
So this homeless guy at the beginning, he goes up to Dick Turpin and he says, I'm looking for someone.
Money.
Can you... He doesn't. He says, can you help me? I'm looking for someone. And Dick Turpin goes, fuck you, poor person. I don't care about you. I'm fucking rich and I've got shit tattoos and I do not give a fuck.
And I'm going to go and get some more shit tattoos as well.
Yeah, fuck, because they say the word fuck an awful lot in this movie, don't they?
Yeah, this is
Every other
basically
word
just
is
like
fuck.
a sequel. How can we make this a bit edgy? Have a lot of people shouting fuck all the time.
Yeah, additional horn section and lots of the use of the word fuck.
Yeah, fucks and fucking.
So yeah, fuck you, movie, for starting with our protagonist being horrible to a homeless person. That's not good. But then it kind of falls into a lot of the same traps as the Twilight sequels, which is interesting because that's another series that started as fan fiction and then became its own thing. So the immediate
So does that mean our Spruce Boy is the Wolf Boys of this film?
So he's the Wolf Boys, ergo we stan.
Yeah.
But
we stand as Spruce. I don't even know if he's the one that's in Riverdale or not, and I feel bad about that.
No, I think isn't it Cole who's in Riverdale?
I think so, yeah.
I think. But then...
So this was Dylan.
Yes, yeah.
Right, okay.
But did you notice that she's got a bullshit publishing job?
Yeah, of course I have, because writers can't think of anything else apart from publishing. This is the thing about writing a book. If your character needs to get a job, it's going to be something to do with publishing, right? And it's literally exactly the same as like 50 Shades.
And it's just as unrealistic as 50 Shades, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah. Where even the interns do get trained a little bit more than like your job is to read manuscripts and literally sat in. Also, intern had her own office, for one thing, which doesn't fucking happen. Well, to tell you the truth, no one in the publishing industry has their own office anymore.
No, it's all open plan.
The publishing industry is fully bought into open plan. But like, and I can talk about this with real authority because I work in academic publishing now, which is totally different.
I work in academic publishing. Thank you very much. None of your shit genre fiction. I like my publishing like I like my biscuits, dry and pedantic.
Yeah, a rich tea.
Fucking rich tea, motherfucker.
I fucking hate rich teas. Rich teas are a very bad biscuit.
I'll eat a rich tea if it's there, but it's definitely pretty low on my list of biscuits to eat.
Yeah.
Have you eaten the new digestives they have out? They're like a special digestive, and they're a blood orange digestive. So it's a really powerful, lovely orange flavour with a digestive biscuit and caramel. And it's like, it's so good.
I'm listening.
This podcast brought to you by McVitie's Blood Orange Digestives.
Yep. I'm happy to have that as a sponsor. Let's do an ad for it, and then they have to send us biscuits.
We'll do like the M&S voiceover of like, you want to fuck this biscuit, don't you? I want to make sweet love to this biscuit. This isn't your usual peasant biscuit. Yeah. This is your fancy ass biscuit.
Please send us biscuits.
Please, send us some biscuits, you bastards. But yeah, they're so good. Get some. You wouldn't necessarily think that blood orange, chocolate, caramel would go well together. You might think it'd be a bit overpowering, but actually they get it bang on.
I love a blood orange. Can't argue with blood orange. It's a very nice flavour.
But they get the balance bang on right. So the blood orange is sweet enough, the caramel's rich enough, the chocolate's like soft enough, and then you've got the biscuit that sort of brings it all together and adds almost that kind of slightly savoury element to it. It's so well done. Well done, McVitie's, for your excellent biscuits. Those biscuits, infinitely better than this movie. But how did we get onto biscuits?
Something to do with publishing and biscuits. The publishing industry eats a lot of biscuits, and I can say this with authority.
It's true.
So I've worked in publishing for all of my career since leaving university, pretty much. So I can talk about this with authority. And it's not as bad as in 50 Shades of Grey, where she walks up to someone and says, "Make the font bigger," which is one of the most bullshit things ever committed to film. But this is just no intern is going to read they're also make out that everyone in publishing reads 3 books a day, and actually some people in publishing don't read that fast, and it's fine. Speed of reading is not an indicator of your ability to do things with books. This is just the hoariest cliches that you can find about publishing. But of course the CEO person is like a rich Elon Musk type.
Yeah, and it's great.
Bob Vance from Vance Refrigeration.
So day one, she has to read 5 books or something she reads 3 books in one day. She has to read 5 a week. And then day 2, she gets taken away to a big nightclub and a schmoozing event to get more financial backing for their company.
Yeah.
And they succeed because she gets drunk with the guy. And so it was all nonsense, but I was still sort of okay, I can get on board with this. I'd kind of enjoy
the only accurate part is the publishers love to drink. That part is true, and that everyone is hungover on the first day of a publishing conference. But why didn't they show that part? That's also something. I used to go to the Frankfurt Book Fair every year. It's why didn't they show that of them just being hungover and having to go to a boring lecture on whatever it is?
But at this point, Paddy, in the film, can I admit something to you?
Of course.
I was involved in this. I was okay, she's fucked off dick bag. She is off in a fantasy publishing job that doesn't exist. And I was this has literally nothing to do with the first movie, and it's all the better for it.
Yep. But I felt exactly the same. I was I want the next day, I want more of them hanging out with investors. I want to hear all about her job and her work and about this amazing bestseller she's found. I want to see this guy doing some Elon Musk shit. I want to see him getting cancelled for tweeting that someone's a pedo. I want to see him opening a rocket full of books to the moon, and her somehow tagging along into that while Hero finds Tiffin is standing on the ground going Tesla while
Tesla!
She's on a rocket going off into space. That's what I wanted, and it didn't deliver any of that.
Because unfortunately, like a bad smell, Hero finds Tiffin's Dick Turpin. Hero Dick Turpin.
Hero finds Turpin.
He has to turn up So can I just point out, we've kind of glossed over, there's a little scene with him where he goes to get more shit tattoos, and his tattoos are shit.
Really,
I am
really
a fan
bad.
of
I hope they're not
tattoos.
his real tattoos.
I don't think a lot of the time actors don't get a lot of tattoos because it sort of impacts on their
It
ability
precludes
to
you from
do big old topless scenes and stuff like that. But yeah, he's off getting a tattoo, and the tattoo artist offers him some booze and says, "Oh, it'll ease the pain." He's getting an arm tattoo. Arm tattoos don't hurt at all. Speaking with experience of someone who has one, it's like a slight,
all right.
It's like
hard man.
It's like a slight itch, and then he's like, "Oh no, I like the pain." It's like, "Oh, fuck off, mate."
And then the tattoo artist says in response to that, "Suit yourself, you fucking masochist." And I'm like, that's literally what that means. You don't need to say that, because that's what that means. That is literally what I like the pain means.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's very bad. But then unfortunately, she ruins the movie. Tessa ruins the movie by calling up Hardin. Again, that's not a name. It's not a name.
Do people believe that the British just make up names? Like, do people think that this is what we're like?
Paddy's not a real name. Robert's not a real name.
We just made them up.
Yeah, we just made them up on the spot. It's a part of British culture where the moment you turn 10 years old, you get to choose your own name and you make it up.
And it can't be a name that's ever been made before.
No, it has
been heard before.
Has to be. Yeah, our international listeners, this is a little known fact about Britain. Boris Johnson was the first person to come up with the name Boris.
Yeah.
That's a science fact for you right there. So he turns up and so she calls him drunk and is like, "I'm drunk and I'm having fun." And I'm slurring my words in a club. And he immediately goes into full-on creepy abusive stalker mode. So he
literally says, "I have your location, I can find you."
Yes, I have your location, I can find you. His first words are, "Where are you?" And then, "Who are you with?" And then he actually turns up at their location like a fucking freak. He then turns up at her hotel room. Our beautiful glasses wearing boy had some wine spilt on him and is getting cleaned up, and Hero finds Tiffin immediately.
He's in his old man boxes.
And Hero finds Tiffin immediately jumps to conclusions and goes, "You're sleeping with this man, how dare you, blah 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 blah."
When they're not even together.
No, they're not even together. And then
she broke up with him for a reason that I couldn't remember from the first film, because I really remembered so little about the first film. Did you find that like it was so forgettable that any of the details? It was
incredibly forgettable. Much more so than 50 Shades, or at least 50 Shades. 50 Shades is a memorable, terrible movie. After is a unmemorable, terrible movie. But I think I'll probably remember more of this one because so many awful things happen. So Hero finds Tiffin, then says they kick out Glasses Boy, and then he's like, "Oh, he's taking advantage of drunk women." Literally 2 seconds after he says that, he has sex with her when she's very, very drunk. And it's meant to be this like romantic scene of like, "Oh, they're getting back together," and this sexy music plays, and you're like, "Oh,
yeah."
But no, what we're seeing is
the kind of like sexy advert music you have now.
Yeah, like, the Marks and Spencer's.
That's my impression of sexy advert music.
Very good. So horrible manipulative ex-boyfriend turns up when his ex-girlfriend is drunk, and then is threatening towards one of her friends, and then has sex with her while she's very drunk. This is not romance.
No.
This is awful.
It's very bad.
And
that's just like the first 20 minutes of the film.
And yeah, this is the beginning of the movie. And this is an ongoing problem with the entire film. The first film has issues with abusive and manipulative relationships,
and the cliched romanticizing of it, which we really thought we were over after 50 Shades and Twilight.
Yeah,
but nope, and here it is, and it has fans.
We had that awful Italian movie as well. What was it? Was it 365 Days?
Il Postino.
Il Postino.
Don't you dare say anything bad about Il Postino.
The bicycle thieves.
Yes. Jean-Luc Godard's The Fifth Element.
What was it called? Was it
365 Days?
Yeah, which was an awful movie, but that was clearly meant for an older audience, for one thing.
Yeah.
And also was basically just softcore pornography with no real attempt at any kind of thing.
Porn with some threats in Italian and Polish.
But this is just an awful message to be sending to people. I'm sorry to sound like an old man, but this is a bullshit message to put in your movie that's predominantly aimed at young people.
No, but it's important to acknowledge that, because that's, as you say, it is aimed at young people, and the defense of it is always that, like, oh well, it's just young people, it's a thing for them or whatever, it's not for you, it has young fans or whatever. But that makes it all the more important for you to deliver, a message of, empowerment and positivity, and to educate people about this kind of stuff, and not to be like, oh yeah, you'd like to date an abusive, handsome bad boy, wouldn't you? Which is just like an old cliche. And I don't know why people still fall for it, young people. And I think as well, like, people talk about it being like escapism as well, so it's like you wouldn't act that way in real life, but I still think that's not a good defense, really.
No, and
I think there's much better stuff out there for young people. And I think that's talking down to young people as well, because it's saying that, like, oh, they'll watch any old shit, when actually, like, young people, even if as like a homogenous group, is sort of anyone from sort of teenage years upwards, they're capable of dealing with much more complex themes and stuff than people give them credit for. They could watch any film and get some enjoyment out of it. So yeah, it's dumbing down, it's talking down, it's punching down, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it goes beyond that as well, where this isn't just this guy's a bad boy, oh, you'll accept that. And people say about people acting differently in real life to how they would in this film, but actually the patterns of behaviour here from Hardin are exactly like that of people who are manipulative in relationships anyway, but done so in this romanticized way. And it's not just he's a bad boy. The kernel of his story isn't that he's a hard man, isn't that he's a bad boy. It's that he is a bad boy with a heart of gold. He's an awful human being, but he writes poetry, yeah. And if someone's artistic, surely they can't be a manipulative or bad person. And this is something that we really need to combat. And a lot of this movie is based around this idea that, oh, well, he witnessed some bad things in his past and he still has nightmares. But hurt people can still hurt people.
His dad was abusive, so it's fine that he's that way.
Yeah. Just because something traumatic has happened to someone and it's having an impact on their life, that doesn't justify them doing awful things to other people. And equally, it doesn't mean that they won't do those awful things to other people as well. And I think, we're recording this episode just a couple of days after the announcements about Marilyn Manson. And so Christ. I really think that we need to rethink whether that idea of artistic, emotional, abusive people being romanticized in film, because it's fucking bullshit. Yeah, it is fucking bullshit. And abuse doesn't just come from a man in a dirty trench coat or a thick-necked, muscle-bound scumbag in a club. It comes from people that you trust. It comes from people that you know well. And Marilyn Manson is proof of that, where a lot of people saw him as this kind of articulate shock musician, who you wouldn't necessarily think of as being an abusive manipulator. Equally, you've got the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard relationship, which has had abuse on both sides. But you look at the way that the people reacted to that news about Johnny Depp and you think, oh, he was Edward Scissorhands, he was Captain Jack Sparrow, he couldn't do those kind of things. Yeah. And just because of someone's interest, just because of someone's passions, just because of how someone portrays themselves on the outside as an artistic or flamboyant or emotional individual, that does not excuse their abusive actions, and it does not mean that they will not use those abusive actions. And we both know people who have been, part of artistic circles who've treated partners like shit.
Yeah. for sure.
It happens
and I think
all the
everyone
time.
probably does. That's the thing. Even if you don't know that it's happening, you know someone that this is happening to, probably. And this kind of popular culture, unfortunately is a contributor to that. It helps to perpetuate those kind of behaviours, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you shouldn't romanticize this kind of behavior at all. And 50 Shades of Grey, I can kind of understand, because there's that real element of escapism there where he's like this billionaire and he's into kinky sex, and the kinky sex is the big central focus of 50 Shades of Grey. It's not necessarily the relationship, but then the relationship elements around it are manipulative in that way. Here, all you've got is the manipulation. All you've got here is the abuse. And this isn't a love story for the ages. These are this is a volatile romance between two young people.
Yeah. Two young people who are at a very, critical and vulnerable time in their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. So this movie is bad. Its themes are bad. Its characters are bad. If you had a hand in making it, you should feel bad.
In the first film as well, they at least tried to do that kind of, he's a sensitive poet type. In this film, they didn't even bother to try and do anything that showed him in a positive light. All he was an abusive arse, like the whole time.
Yeah.
Apart from, I don't know, one time he goes to a yoga class and isn't a complete dick.
And the first movie as well, it was relatively low stakes. So the whole thing is that kind of bet element that you see in rom-coms constantly. Yeah. Whereas here, it completely loses any of that low-key human element. And it is just drama. It is just abuse. It is just manipulation all the way through.
Yeah. It's kind of like a sort of slick produced American version of a trailer for EastEnders. You know, when you're flicking channels on the BBC and it's like, here's the 10 to 20 seconds of the latest EastEnders episode, and it's all people going, fuck you, you did this, fuck you. It's just like that. It's like that, but with young Americans, and one posho British guy stretched out for an hour and 40 minutes somehow.
Yeah, this is a long movie. It's very, very bad. And it feels so long as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. But let's talk about the scene after the scene where he shows up and sleeps with her when she's drunk, when they have an argument in the corridor. The dialogue is Wizzoian. I'm going to say that, like, most of the dialogue in this film is like something out of the room.
Pocket, yeah.
Yeah. It's like that. You wouldn't be surprised to hear them come out with something like that. But in kind of the overacting and the shouting fuck at each other all the time. In that scene, they're in the corridor and like I can't remember which one of them grabs a bread roll off the room service trolley that's in the corridor and throws it and shouts fuck, and it's just like, that is a Tommy Wiseau move for sure. That is a you're tearing me apart, Lisa moment.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, so he just broods around a lot. Like you said, he doesn't do much poetry. You see him writing it at one moment. I
must have missed that.
But no,
maybe I was reaching for my Coke.
But nothing. It's kind of in like a montage scene.
Of course.
It just reminded me. Have you watched Chewing Gum?
No. What's that?
Chewing Gum is so good. Everybody listening, if you've not watched Chewing Gum, go and see it. It's a really great Channel 4 comedy series.
I've not even heard of that. Is it recent?
So it was a few years ago now, starring Michaela Cole, who I don't know if you know.
Don't think I know. I don't know anything. I haven't seen anything.
Okay, this is your homework, Paddy.
I've seen Sesame Street and The Wiggles. That's what I've seen.
This is your homework, Paddy, to go and watch Chewing Gum. She's in I May Destroy You from last year, which apparently was amazing. I still haven't watched it yet. But yeah, Chewing Gum is really, really funny, and her boyfriend in that is also a poet, but his poetry is extremely bad. And whenever I saw him doing poetry, or where it was kind of hinted at that he's a poetic sort, I was just thinking, I bet his poetry is really shit.
Yeah, it's going to be the worst stuff you've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's a wrong 'un, isn't he? But yeah, yep. He gets a roll thrown at him, and then he storms off for a bit, and they're grumpy for a bit, and there's a will they won't they that goes on for a while. Where it's like, oh, were they back together? Are they not? She goes back home to speak to her mum, who is again extremely melodramatic, like she was in the first movie. We see floppy haired cuckboy,
from the first film.
From the first film, he appears for 5 seconds and then is never seen again. He looks very sad and he's like, "Oh, I've blown it. I've ruined
I blew
my
it,
chances."
Carol. I blew it.
It's like, what were you expecting to happen? You look like a bad Paul Dano impersonator.
I wouldn't even go that far.
So it's just kind of.
But mostly, it's just sort of some sex scenes strewn together, isn't it? And then it all starts to go wrong because he hates his dad or something. I can't even remember. And his dad was Sandy Cohen from the OC in the first film, and it was someone else in this film. And I think, good for you, Peter Gallagher. You got out at the right time.
It does have one brilliant line though, where he starts having an argument with his dad at is it a Thanksgiving meal or a Christmas meal or something?
It's a Christmas party. So this is a Christmas film, by the way.
Oh, wow.
We've watched a Christmas film in February.
Where he says to his dad, "Look at your fucking trousers," and it pans out and he's wearing these horrible tartan trousers. It's like, that's the only sort of sympathetic thing he says at any moment in this movie is,
but
yes,
it's also
your dad
completely
is
out of the blue.
Trousers.
He's trying to tell his dad off for being abusive, and it's just like, it's totally wrong. It's just completely, it's almost like a non sequitur. Again, it's a Wizzoian line where he's just like, "Look at your fucking trousers.
Keep your fucking trousers in the closet."
Yeah.
I've got, it's the most true thing that little Lord Shittlroy said, written as my little
Lord
note
Shittlroy. Little Dick Turpin boy.
But you're right. The horn section is through the roof in this movie, isn't it? If you want to watch a movie with really tame sex scenes in, then this is where you can go.
But you don't see a single boob or a buttock or anything.
You don't see
and it's rated R, apparently.
There's no shaft, unlike 365 Days. You see a bit of...
Yeah, to give that film its credit, you definitely saw some buttocks in that film.
Yeah, whereas here it's all incredibly tame, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it kind of
the worst one is when they're in the office and they're all just wearing their clothes and you're supposed to believe that happened.
It kind of drives home the kind of issues with the rating system as well. Is, there's a lot of very bad stuff in this movie, but what would have put it over the edge from the ratings perspective would have been if they'd shown some nipple.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's like, you've got some
probably
real
the bread roll
manipulative nonsense in this. But it just is very scattergun as well, which I think doesn't work in its favour. Where
it's all over the place.
Yeah, there's bullshit misunderstandings between them all the time. The best of the lot is towards the end where they go to a house party. For some reason, she's gone back to the university and is like, "Yeah, I'm going to go to a house party with all these people I hate."
Yeah, just for one scene to remind you that, hey, they're at college.
They're actually students.
Go college team, sports.
Go sports. Where our boy finds Tiffin, he goes off and speaks to another woman. And Tessa overhears her saying, "I don't kiss and tell" to him. This starts a huge argument, which to me makes me realize Tessa does not understand idioms. If you don't understand idioms, should you work in publishing?
Yeah. Are you then therefore capable of finding the next bestseller and reading 3 books in a night?
She doesn't understand metaphor. She's
Probably
there reading.
not.
She's there reading Moby Dick, thinking, "Fuck, man, that's a huge whale. Jesus Christ."
Yeah. Yes,
oh man,
I will call you Ishmael.
I can't believe what they did to those animals in Animal Farm.
Yeah. 4 legs really were bad, huh?
So and that scene also has the greatest moment of consecutive fucks in the movie. And there's a lot of consecutive fucks. They say the word fuck an awful lot. Even more so than we're doing in this episode. And we swear a fair bit.
Which is a lot.
We swear a fair bit. This is one of our swearier episodes, but partly because we're quoting this movie, where between the two of them, between Tessa and Hardin, they go, "Fuck this, fuck you, fuck off." And those are all said immediately after one another. But in my mind, I was thinking this should just be directed to the characters in this movie and those responsible for putting this piece of shit out there, surely. Maybe that was a message to themselves and to the wider creative team behind this. Yeah,
he was channeling all of that, I reckon.
Yeah, fuck this movie, fuck you directors and cast, fuck off anyone involved in putting it together.
I know that people, like, anecdotally, I've heard that 1 or 2 people don't like the swearing on this show.
Oh.
But, there's only one response to that, isn't there?
I'm extremely sorry, old sport.
No, fuck off.
I'm sorry, but yeah, we swear, but it's what we do, and it's a sign of passion. And
yeah,
I'm sorry if you don't.
We care
like
about
it.
Films.
Maybe we should bleep it, do a clean version, and do
Jesus Christ, editing this already takes up too much of my week.
Yeah, I'm sure that won't add any time to it. Yeah, no, I'm afraid you're probably just going to have to live with it. We swear.
Or we could replace it with some funny noises, like a horn going.
a duck's quack.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just deal with it. I'm sorry, we're adults. If you're listening to this, you're probably an adult. Or if you're a kid listening to it, you're a cool kid and you can handle some swears.
Yeah. What's up, you cool baby?
Yeah. Does Eric listen?
Yeah, he does.
Love it. What did he think of this movie?
He listens every week. Oh, he hated it. He thought it was. He said it was the worst film he'd ever seen.
He's a child with exceptional taste, so
yeah. He said he was very upset that he had to watch it when he would much rather have been watching dinosaurs.
Oh, exactly.
He's into dinosaurs at the moment.
That's what I was thinking as well, because I also love dinosaurs.
And you know why? Because I played him the goofy Walk the Dinosaur song from the Super Mario Brothers film. And he loved it.
George Clinton.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that song so much. Unfortunately, there's no dinosaurs and no George Clinton in this movie. What we do have, though, is the most tame use of a car crash I think I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, I looked away from the screen because I was cooking an egg during the car crash. So
is that a metaphor, Paddy?
No, that's genuinely what happened. And then I looked back and I was like, oh, she's been in a car crash. He's running along after the ambulance like a totally normal person.
Yeah, so to bring you up to speed, his phone had run out of battery. They'd done the big old fight at the party, and she was trying to get hold of him, saying, "Call me, we need to speak to each other." Blah blah blah. He's in the car with a friend, using the charger, and sees all her messages and tries to call her. She unbuckles her seatbelt to reach over to get the phone, and then drives into a junction. The other cars shouldn't be coming from the other direction, but they are, and she gets hit. And you think, oh, this is dramatic, but then it just gets completely glossed over. They spend about a minute afterwards on her having to go to the hospital, and then she's absolutely fine. She's
totally fine. It only exists to set up the love triangle that isn't even really there, because nice accountant glasses boy is there, and he gets her phone and tells Hardin to go away.
Yeah.
But in the next scene, he's there, so that all just happened for basically no reason.
Yeah. Hey, abusive ex-boyfriend, don't come and see your ex-girlfriend who you were horrible to at a party last night. I think is a fair thing for a friend to say to the abusive ex-boyfriend. But it does give us a very hilarious moment where, I don't know if you caught this, but he's running along after the ambulance. You can just hear him going, "Tessa!"
Yep. As if he's chasing after the family dog.
Yeah.
On a Boxing Day walk on their grounds.
Yeah. "Tessa!
On their estate.
Get away from that stoat hole, Tessa!"
Yeah.
It's extremely bad. And then there's this whole thing about him. He's getting clean. He's not going to drink anymore, and he's going to be fine now. And that's
he's an alcoholic on top of everything else, by the way.
Yeah, which is definitely handled with tact in this movie, and not in an incredibly offensive way. But yeah, so then he's getting clean and he's getting good for her, and then at the end they go off together again, because she believes him. But this is another issue, is, addictions make people act in erratic ways, and there's often a connection between addictions and abuse, but just getting clean once is not an indicator of someone being better. And in fact, addiction is something that you handle long term, and there's no indication in this movie that any of that is a factor.
It's a complex thing, and I think if you're gonna have it in a film, you have to really explore it and give it time and space and grace, and this film has none of those things. It's literally just there to make him look like a bad boy. It's there. It only exists so that he can get clean, so that the film can give you a reason to think that he's okay, right?
Yeah,
it's cynical.
Exactly. It's a very
utterly cynical.
It's a very poor use of a very dangerous and complex thing in real life. And I hate it all the more for its inclusion here. But you know,
if it wasn't bad enough, they used one of my favourite Sufjan Stevens songs to track it as well. So fuck you for using that song as well.
But it's incredibly poorly handled. And it glosses over all of the intricacies of it. It's just, they needed to give him a justification for him being bad. And part of that is an abusive childhood. Part of that is an ongoing addiction problem. But none of that correlates to his behavior in any significant way.
His behavior is so awful, and he is such a dick that even though you know that his dad was like abusive and awful, when he goes for the dad, you're somehow on the dad's side. You're like, this guy in check trousers who looks a bit like Keir Starmer seems all right to me.
Yeah, Keir Starmer dad. And also you see, that's one of the brief moments where you see a long-term recovery plan for addiction, where it's clear that he has been sober for a long time. And he's still painted as the villain by this movie. And it's like, well, yeah, he did awful things. But if you're looking at long term, what Dick Turpin's life is going to be like, he's going to have to emulate that. He's going to have to consistently be working on his addiction problems in the way that his dad is.
Yeah. And the film pretends to deal with that by his mum having a conversation about it, but it's just the mum saying you have to forgive your dad, otherwise it will eat you up forever.
Yeah, and you don't have to forgive someone for that.
No, you don't. That's not, again, that's not really how to deal with it, is it?
Solving problems of trauma and solving problems of addiction, it's not based on your feelings towards another human being. It's based on your feelings towards yourself, and it's based on your own control. And yes, having support mechanisms around you is really important for those kind of things, but it has to all come from the individual. It can't come from forgiving someone externally. He could quite rightfully hate his dad until they're both long dead. That doesn't have any factor in the addiction or the abuse that he suffered. And this movie just tries to wrap all of those wrong, antiquated cliches up in this abuse romance story and just fucks it every single time.
Yeah. I agree with all of that.
So yeah,
very
fuck
bad.
This movie. It's
and also,
awful.
Is a British character even British if they don't say the word wanker?
You wanker. Can you imagine?
He's a wanker, Mum. You can't date Mike. He's a wanker.
He's a wanker.
He's a wanker.
He's a wanker.
Yeah. Or if a posh British woman doesn't say loo within the first 10 seconds of her scene. Like, fucking come on. Yes, we say loo. Hilarious.
Oh, it's just fucking shit, isn't it? It's bullshit. Bullshit movie. Bullshit people.
Very bad.
And
also, he can't even ice skate. What a dick.
Well, I've never ice skated in my life.
Well, I'm sure you do a better job than he does in this film, because he's rubbish at it.
So, can I say something?
Of course you can.
Fuck Hero Finds Tiffin.
Yeah. I really want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I haven't seen him in anything other than these films, but in these films, I cannot stand him.
Oh no,
his acting is absolutely terrible.
You have seen him as Tom Riddle in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
Oh yeah, for like half a scene. When I thought he's very, very good as a creepy 11-year-old Tom Riddle. I'll give him that.
He's I think I mentioned he's in the TV series Safe.
I've not seen that.
Which is like it's a very silly mystery about someone whose daughter's gone missing and someone's died at a house party, and Hero Finds Tiffin is one of the other kids at this kid's school, and he's insufferable in that as well. So he's not got a good track record with me.
Does he shout fuck while throwing a bread roll at someone?
No, he's not the one who throws a bread roll in this movie.
Oh, right,
it's,
okay.
It's Tessa.
Tessa.
But yeah, so you know what else has he got on his plate? He's got a TV series called Day by Day, a TV series called Cleaning Up, which has Sheridan Smith in it, who I like a lot. Maybe I will give that a go. Maybe Hero Finds Tiffin will be good in that. It's a struggling mum discovers access to a lucrative stock market information while working as an office cleaner in Canary Wharf. That sounds fun. I'd watch that.
Okay, I'm open to that.
So Hero Finds Tiffin, that might be your 3 strikes and you're out policy for me, because I didn't like you in Safe. I hate you in these awful movies which have defined your career. You better not fuck up cleaning up. You better not fuck up something with Sheridan Smith in, because she is a national fucking treasure.
National treasure.
And you're not. Well, no, you're listening, Hero.
You listen every week. You got nothing better to do.
You're learning how to be an abusive dickweed for these terrible films, doing all of your research, and when you get some time off from that, you're listening to this podcast, you're like, oh, I wonder if they will like my latest shit piece.
He wishes it was a shit piece.
This is not a shit piece. This is abhorrent, I think is the right word for it.
Yeah.
So don't fuck up that. And maybe you're going to be in something good later, but at the moment...
He's got time. He's a young guy.
He's a young guy. He's also got Tiffin in his name, which is very close to Taffin. Which,
Maybe he shouldn't be living here.
Which, if you've got even if it's a misstep, and also Tiffin's quite nice. You a fan of Tiffin?
It sounds nice. Don't think I've ever actually eaten Tiffin.
Have you not had Tiffin?
No, it's a sort of nutty caramel biscuit thing.
I don't think it's got any caramel or any nuts, actually. It's mainly chocolate. So It's like crumbly biscuits with chocolate and maybe some like other random stuff in. Sometimes they put raisins in, which I'm not too fond of, but other times it's like maybe cherries, or maybe it's kind of like the British version of Rocky Road.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Tiffin's a good thing. Hero Finds Tiffin, on the other hand,
not good.
Step your game up, mate. You wank.
Yep.
Oh, who's a wanker?
Sort it out, you wanker.
Sort it out, you wank. That's the official statement from Big Boys.
Yep, we're going to put that on our Twitter, and when people do like an apology image with a quote on an image, it's going to say "sort it out, you wanker" in quote marks.
Important. Yeah, we'll have one of those YouTube apology thumbnails up, where a YouTuber's been caught being a sexual harasser, and they
or really saying the N-word online.
Yeah, they have a heated gaming moment. Then they put up that sad picture, and they do a little 9-minute long video where they go, "I'm so sorry, I've let you all down," and then 2 months later they do exactly the same thing again.
Yep. So sort it out, you wanker.
Sort it out, you wanker.
Wanker.
Oh, he's a wanker.
Can I just go back to the ice skating thing for a moment?
Yes, of course.
It's he keeps falling over when they're ice skating, and then it kind of zooms out, and she's like, "Do you want to get you like a walker?" And there's a woman in the background with like a Zimmer frame on the ice. That's not a thing. They don't have those. You hold the wall if you can't skate. At least no rink that I've ever been to I've ever seen anyone using a fucking Zimmer frame on the ice. That's not real.
You're talking bullshit, Paddy.
I've been to a lot of ice rinks.
Literally, I have searched ice skating walker for adults, and you can buy one from Decathlon UK for £25.
Bullshit. Fake news.
These are real.
This film made it up to try and make Hero Finds Tiffin seem vulnerable. This was its only attempt to make him seem vulnerable, and it stinks.
There are fucking photos everywhere, Paddy, of this. You're talking bullshit, I'm afraid.
Well, I haven't seen them.
I haven't seen them, therefore they do not exist.
Yeah. Schrodinger's ice Zimmer frame.
Ice Zimmer frame. They do exist. There's loads of photos of them. I personally have never seen them, but like I said, I've never ice skated.
I think you'd be like a beautiful swan.
Well, it's funny because I used to really like ice hockey and watching NHL when I was a wee kid. But yeah, I've never ice skated, partly because there's never really been the opportunity to.
Yeah.
It's not really done that often in the UK.
No, it's not. I think I did it partly when I was a kid. We went skiing. which obviously is a thing that the hero finds Tiffin types do. But
Paddy finds Tiffin.
Yeah. And sometimes there would be ice skating there, or it's kind of similar. I don't know. When I was growing up, we'd go ice skating. Not all the time, but it was like there were ice rinks and stuff. But there aren't that many rinks. That's the thing. Usually these days, what you get is you get a shit one in a shopping centre around Christmas, which is not good. Don't go to those rinks. Go to a dedicated one. If you're in London, Alexandra Palace ice rink, extremely good. If you're in Surrey, near me, Guildford Spectrum, very good ice rink where I used to go. Not that you can go now because of COVID, but there you go. This podcast brought to you by ice skating.
This podcast brought to you by the Guildford Spectrum, the UK's #1 leisure complex.
It is. That's a fact.
That is a science fact right there for you.
Science fact. Now the Guildford Spectrum has to give us money as well.
Yeah, we've got biscuit money. We've got Guildford
money
Spectrum
off vouchers.
Money. We're all over it. All over it.
So hated that scene as well. Very, very bad.
I hated literally everything in this movie. She slut shames a woman she doesn't like. That's not cool.
Yeah.
And the only bit I liked was the car crash scene because that was extremely funny.
There were some funny Wizoian moments, more so than the first film, that you could take a bit of perverse pleasure in, but it's not enough to get past the fact that this is a terrible film that romanticizes abuse.
Yeah, so get fucked, you bastards. That's my review. Cut the rest of this episode entirely, Paddy. Just give me that section.
The way the film ends is kind of the perfect demonstration of that, where he rocks up to the party and takes her away from Trevor, who's being nice, being a nice accountant boy. And then the last line, I think it's the last line before his stupid bullshit monologue that I didn't really listen to. And she says, "You're never going to leave me alone, are you?" And that's supposed to be like the big romantic conclusion. And it's like, the answer to that is yes, and you still go through with it. That's fucking creepy.
Yeah, and he gets a big tattoo that basically says, "I'm never going to leave you." And it's like, that's not creepy at all.
You're talking about shit tattoos. That's the shittest tattoo I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's extremely bad, isn't it? And then, the movie ends with her going, "Dad, Papa, it's really you, Papa."
Yeah, her papa turns up on the street as a homeless guy. I'm sure that's going to be handled really sensitively and is going to be really interesting and complex in the second film, and isn't just going to be some foil to drive them apart so they can get back together again after he's been an abusive ass for another hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, if they were going to make this realistic about abuse, the whole thing is going to be the dad trying to reconnect with his daughter and then her abusive partner shutting him out and making sure that she never sees anybody apart from him.
Yeah. Which, if handled in the right way, that could be a really interesting, potentially harrowing, but interesting, sensitive, and important piece of film. But that's not what this is going to be.
It's not what's going to happen, is it? I mean, I would love if the final 2 movies in this series just did a complete heel turn and turned it into a terrifying horror story about this abusive, manipulative relationship. But no, that's not what's going to happen, is it? There's probably going to be some murder conspiracy. It's gonna go down the route of
it's gonna go a little bit QAnon.
50 Shades. It's gonna go a bit 50 Shades, where you had that whole murder conspiracy and
what was it?
And stuff.
His parents died in a fire or something,
and then his stepbrother or someone else who was in the orphanage is trying to kill him or something like that.
His dodgy cousin who grew up poor or whatever. Yeah. God, such a stupid plot.
Yeah. It's going to go down that route, isn't it? That's what's going to happen. But I don't know if Glasses Boy will turn up in the next ones, or whether they'll
I really hope he does, because he's the only good thing about it.
Or maybe they'll find another love triangle to shoehorn in.
There probably will be some other bullshit guy.
Yeah. It's fucking shit, and I hate it. Have you got anything else you'd like to say about this movie?
Well, I think the last word and the important thing to say is that if you are a young person listening to this show instead of doing the TikToks, then firstly, thank you. We really appreciate it.
Oh, they're doing them TikToks.
They're doing them TikToks. If you like this, if you are a fan of this, you are better than this. I want you to know that you are better than this, and there is better stuff out there for which you can find escapism, for which you can have narratives of, people finding themselves and taking those first steps into romance and having interesting and complicated romantic relationships, there is better stuff out there, and I really want you to go and find it, and not to enjoy the romance here because it romanticizes abuse and it's bad. There is better stuff out there. Go through all of the almost 200 podcasts that we've done. There's a lot of great stuff in there, and like a lot of the stuff for young people is more goofy, so it's all comedies, like To All the Boys I Loved Before. Even Twilight, like, has a bit of that romanticizing of abuse, obviously, but is better than this. Even something like The Kissing Booth or Dumpling. I looked back over the list of of the films that we watched, and I was like, so good. And it's like there's fun romance in that. It's like there is much better stuff out there. You do not need this. You can do better. I even think about something like Little Women. Like that's a recent adaptation of a book, but people and Lit Men. Obviously, if what I'm saying is don't watch this, watch Lit Men.
Watch Lit Men. But no, I think you mentioned a movie that I think is the perfect representation of not treating teenagers like idiots, which is To All the Boys I Loved Before. The first one, the second one was a bit hit and miss, but that first movie is very smart. It's very well handled, and it has that genuine emotional punch and that genuine romantic feel to it in a way that does not dumb itself down to teenagers, and also shows positive relationships in a way, which this movie just does not do. So yeah, if you're a fan of it, don't want to shame me for what you like, but no, of course you are much better than this. Yeah, you can do better. So yeah, go and watch RoboCop, the ultimate romantic movie.
Go and watch Beethoven and then Beethoven second, back to back.
Go and watch the King Solomon's Mines movies. The greatest movies of all time.
Go and watch The Bridges in Madison County. It won't seem weird and dated to you at all.
I've got some trivia for you. So this was directed by our boy Roger Cumble.
Oh, we didn't even talk about Roger Cumble.
No.
He's definitely got a 3 strikes and out by now, surely.
Well, the thing is that he's done a good.
He's done a good.
He's done a good before, because he did direct Cruel Intentions, which is a really good movie.
We need to talk about that.
But yeah, he has also done Just Friends and After We Collided and Falling in Love. But Falling in Love, I think you can kind of give a pass to.
No one in Falling in Love was like abusive or mean-spirited. There was a little bit of mean-spirited humour in there, but mostly it was just forgettable.
Yeah. And he also did Furry Vengeance, which is the Brendan Fraser movie that's apparently terrible, about woodland creatures.
Furry Vengeance. Who would have thought a film with that title would be terrible?
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, Roger Cumble, obviously, he directed Cruel Intentions, which also starred Selma Blair. So there you go, working together again. This movie was also rated R, as you mentioned, as shown by all of the sex and all of the swearing, which is generally, I like it when movies can go a bit R rated, but this movie did not use it effectively. And also Anna Todd had a cameo, so she obviously was the writer of the books.
Yes, and she co-wrote the script this time, which she didn't for the first one. So I assume it was down to her that all the F-bombs were added.
Yes, yeah. Apparently this was meant to be closer to the story, which concerns me. I don't know if she's writing the 3rd and 4th or not. But yeah, we'll find out.
I don't know. But ultimately, she's the writer of the source material, so she's the one that's come up with all this stuff. So she has some things to answer for.
Yeah,
I think.
It's not good. I'm not a fan at all. So anyway, right, how are we going to rate this?
Oh god, how many bread rolls do you need to throw at me while shouting fuck for me to go away?
Well, the real answer to that, I don't think it would only take a couple of bread rolls in real life, me throwing at you, for you to go away. I think
I'd catch them and eat them.
I think you'd probably find some kind of makeshift bat and we do a little bit of baseball.
Bread roll baseball.
Bread roll baseball, famous game to play in hotels. But for the answer to how good this movie is, how many bread rolls, I'm giving it fucking one for Glasses Boy.
Yeah.
this movie is terrible and it's awful thematically. The ideas behind it, the ideology behind it is offensive, and I despise it. There's no redeeming features.
Is this worse than just Friends? Because to make the scores relative, we need to do that. Okay, in that case, I'm also giving it a 1, which means it is now our lowest scoring film of all time.
Yeah, though Just Friends is still probably the meanest movie that we've watched. But Just Friends had moments. This has nothing. This is a void filled with abuse.
Yeah.
So get fucked. To quote this movie, fuck you, fuck off, fuck this.
Yep. All the F-bombs.
Yeah. So yeah, get out. So what have we got next? Give me some good news, Paddy. Give me some.
Well, we had a request for a film that I've been wanting to see for a while, which is from a couple of years ago, which is Sorry to Bother You.
Ah, excellent. Yes. I have watched this very recently, actually.
You have? Oh, yeah. Good. There's something that's been on my list for a while. I just hadn't got around to it. So thanks to my dad for requesting that one.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
Oh, it's got Terry Crews in it. It's got to be good.
It is. It's. I'm a big fan. So I'm excited to talk about that.
Brilliant. I'm sure it'll be better than After We Collided.
Yes, it definitely is. Spoiler alert.
Not that that's hard.
Oh dear.
Oh, well, we love what we do, nonetheless. Sometimes we have to have a sweary episode like that, but we really, really hope you enjoyed the show. And rest assured that we do talk about good films as well as, shit pieces and everything in between. If you haven't listened to many episodes. And, while we're on the subject, as I said, we have done almost 200 episodes. So if you haven't listened to them all, why not hit the back catalogue as well? There's nothing else to do because we're still in lockdown, in the UK at least.
Yeah, it's good listening for when you're bored at work. Chuck on one of our episodes, listen to our soothing voices, and,
listen to our soothing voices telling you to sort it out, you wanker!
Sort it out, you wanker. And remember to buy McVitie's Blood Orange digestives and go and visit the Guildford Spectrum.
Spectrum, that's right. Yeah.
Guildford Spectrum. Yeah. I am a big fan of the Guildford Spectrum, as you can tell.
Yep, you go there to skate all the time.
Yeah, that is what I do.
All right, and please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Leaving us ratings and reviews and stuff is always very, very helpful. It helps people to find the show, especially as I can't be asked to promote it on social media anymore because I hate social media. So, please do some of that. And thank you for listening. We really, really do appreciate it, and we love you.
We do. We love you all very much.
All right, we'll be back next week to talk about Sorry to Bother You.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Bye.